Everyone in the mansion knew one rule: never challenge Adrian Hayes. Then a woman wearing bunny slippers walked into his ward and did exactly that. The grand entrance hall of the Hayes estate had always been a place where silence spoke louder than words. The polished marble floors, the tall glass windows, and the carefully dressed staff all reflected the same message: power lived here. Everyone who entered knew Adrian Hayes was not an ordinary man known throughout the city as a Korean Mafia boss. Adrian carried a reputation built on influence, intelligence, and control. People chose their words carefully around him. They respected his decisions. They avoided unnecessary disagreements. But on that rainy evening, something unexpected happened. A woman in simple clothes and bright bunny slippers walked across that marble floor without hesitation. Her name was Maya Thompson. She was a humble housekeeper who had spent years taking care of others without asking for recognition. She did not arrive with confidence because she had power. She arrived with confidence because she believed someone needed to tell the truth. The staff watched quietly as Maya approached Adrian's office. They expected her to apologize. They expected her to lower her voice and step away. But Maya simply knocked on the door and waited. Inside, Adrian looked up from his documents. His expression remained calm as he saw the woman standing there. He was used to people entering his office with requests, compliments, or carefully prepared words. He was not used to someone arriving with honesty. Mr. Hayes, Maya said, standing straight despite the nervous eyes watching her from behind, there is something you need to understand. The room became still. Adrian studied her carefully. He noticed the unusual details first. The casual slippers. The simple appearance. The complete lack of fear. Most people changed the moment they stood in front of him. Maya did not. She was not trying to impress him. She was not trying to gain anything. She was simply concerned about something she believed was wrong. She explained that some of the household staff had been treated unfairly and that certain decisions were being made without considering the people affected by them. Her voice remained respectful, but her words were clear. For the first time in a long time, Adrian heard someone speak to him without fear or hidden intentions. The people around him expected him to react. They waited for the powerful man they knew to appear. But Adrian said nothing. He only looked at Maya, trying to understand why this ordinary woman had something that many influential people lacked. Courage. Maya did not know that her small act of honesty had caught the attention of the one person in the city who rarely allowed anyone close enough to challenge his perspective. She did not know that the moment she stood in that office wearing bunny slippers, she had changed the way Adrian saw the world. Because Adrian Hayes had spent years surrounded by people who respected his power. But Maya Thompson was the first person who respected him enough to tell him the truth. And that was the moment the most untouchable man in the city began wondering about the woman who was not afraid to stand before him. The morning after Maya Thompson walked into Adrian Hayes' office, the entire mansion felt different. Not because anything had changed in the rooms, the furniture, or the daily routine, but because everyone was quietly wondering the same thing. How had a woman who cleaned the house become the first person in years to speak honestly to Adrian? The staff members had spent the night discussing what happened. They remembered Maya standing there in her simple clothes and bunny slippers, completely different from the people who usually entered Adrian's ward. Others came dressed to impress. Others carefully chose every word. Maya had done neither. She had simply walked in and told the truth. Adrian sat in his office that morning, looking over the information Maya had brought to him. He had expected to dismiss it at first. Not because he believed she was wrong, but because he was used to people bringing him problems with hidden intentions. Everyone wanted something from him. A favor. A connection. A reward. But Maya wanted nothing. That was the part he could not understand. She had not asked for a better position. She had not asked for money. She had not tried to use the moment to improve her own situation. She only wanted people around her to be treated fairly. For Adrian, that was unusual. He had spent years building a world where loyalty was often measured by what people could gain. Maya reminded him that some people still acted because they believed it was right. Later that day, Adrian quietly observed the household. He noticed things he had ignored before. He saw how Maya greeted every employee by name. He saw how she helped an older worker carry supplies without expecting anyone to notice. He saw how she treated the people around her with the same respect she had demanded for them. She was not trying to prove she was a good person. She simply was one. Meanwhile, Maya continued her normal responsibilities. She did not act differently because Adrian had listened to her. She did not walk through the mansion expecting special treatment. She still organized rooms, helped the staff, and completed her work with the same patience as before. That was another thing Adrian found surprising. Many people changed when they gained his attention. Maya became even more determined to remain herself. As the days passed, Adrian began asking questions about her. Not because he was suspicious, but because he was curious. Who was this woman who could stand in front of one of the most powerful men in the city and remain completely genuine? He learned that Maya had spent years helping others even when she had very little herself. She had supported her family, cared for people around her, and always believed that kindness was a choice people made every day. Adrian found himself thinking about those words. In his world, people often believed kindness was a weakness. Maya showed him that kindness could require more courage than authority. One evening, Adrian saw Maya preparing tea for the staff after a long day. She smiled and joked with them as if nothing unusual had happened. She was not interested in being noticed by the most powerful person in the house. She was simply living according to her values. For the first time in many years, Adrian felt something he rarely experienced. Curiosity. He wanted to understand the person behind the honesty. He wanted to know why someone with so little power could make him question so many things about his own life. And without realizing it, Adrian Hayes had started paying attention to the one person who never tried to get his attention. The days that followed brought a quiet transformation inside the Hayes mansion. No announcement was made. No one gathered to celebrate a change. Yet everyone who lived and worked there began noticing something different. Adrian Hayes, the man who was known for making decisions quickly and keeping his emotions hidden, had started paying attention to things he once ignored. He noticed when employees looked tired after a long day. He noticed when someone needed help but was too hesitant to ask. He noticed the small moments that Maya Thompson had always noticed. The difference was that Maya had been seeing those things all along. For her, kindness was not something she practiced only when people were watching. It was part of who she was. Maya's daily life had never been about impressing anyone. She woke up early, prepared for work, and moved through the mansion with the same steady energy she had always carried. Her bunny slippers became a small reminder to everyone that she was different. They were not a symbol of embarrassment. They represented something Adrian had rarely seen in his world, someone comfortable enough to be completely herself. One afternoon, Adrian watched Maya help a new employee who was struggling to adjust. Instead of criticizing the mistakes, Maya calmly explained what needed to be done and encouraged the person to keep learning. Adrian observed from a distance, surprised by the patience she showed. In his experience, people often demanded results before offering understanding. Maya offered understanding first. Later, Adrian asked her why she always treated people with such kindness, even when they did not always appreciate it. Maya looked at him and smiled. She explained that everyone had difficult days, and sometimes a little patience could change how someone felt about themselves. Adrian listened carefully. It was a simple answer, but it stayed. With him. He had spent years surrounded by complicated conversations, negotiations, and people trying to gain advantages. Maya's perspective was different because it was not complicated at all. She believed people mattered. That evening, Adrian found himself thinking about his own life. He remembered all the moments when people approached him because of his reputation. They saw the successful businessman. They saw the powerful figure. They rarely looked beyond that image. Maya was different because she never seemed interested in the image. She spoke to him the same way she spoke to everyone else. Respectfully, but honestly. That honesty made Adrian uncomfortable at first because it forced him to look at parts of himself he had ignored. He began to understand that being respected was not the same as being understood. Meanwhile, Maya remained unaware of how much her presence had affected him. She was not trying to change Adrian. She was not trying to become important in his world. She simply continued living according to her values. That was exactly what made her impossible for him to ignore. One evening, as rain softly tapped against the mansion windows, Adrian stood in the quiet hallway and watched Maya leave after finishing her work. The woman who entered his life wearing bunny slippers had no idea she had challenged something much deeper than his authority. She had challenged the way he viewed people. And for a man who had spent his entire life believing control was everything, that realization was something he could not forget. The rain continued falling over the city, creating a quiet atmosphere around the Hayes mansion. Inside, everything appeared the same on the surface, but the people who worked there could feel a change. Adrian Hayes was no longer the distant figure who moved through the halls without noticing anyone around him. He was still respected, still powerful, and still known as a Korean Mafia Boss with influence that reached far beyond the mansion. But something about him had shifted. He was beginning to see the people behind the roles they carried. The person who noticed this change more than anyone was Maya Thompson. She never expected Adrian to become different because of her. She had never entered his world hoping to leave an impression. She only believed that people deserved honesty and respect. But Adrian's growing curiosity about her made him look deeper into the life of the woman who had challenged him without fear. He began learning about Maya's past, and what he discovered surprised him. Maya had not grown up surrounded by comfort or privilege. She knew what it meant to struggle. She knew what it felt like to work hard without receiving recognition. Yet somehow, those experiences had not made her bitter. They had made her more understanding. Adrian found that unusual because his own experiences had taught him to protect himself. He had built walls around his emotions because trusting the wrong person could create problems. Over time, he learned to keep people at a distance. His success came with respect, but it also came with isolation. Maya saw something in him that others never noticed. She saw a person before she saw his reputation. One evening, Adrian found Maya organizing supplies in a quiet room near the kitchen. He asked her why she never seemed intimidated by him. Maya looked surprised by the question. She explained that she respected him, but respect did not mean ignoring the truth. She believed everyone should be treated fairly, regardless of their position. Adrian remained silent after hearing those words. Many people respected him because of what they thought he represented. Maya respected him because she believed every person deserved basic dignity. That difference stayed in his mind. Later that night, Adrian stood alone in his office overlooking the city. He thought about all the people who surrounded him throughout his life. Many admired his achievements, but few challenged his decisions. Maya was different. She did not try to change him through pressure or expectation. She simply showed him another way to see the world. Meanwhile, Maya continued her responsibilities without realizing the effect she had created. She still wore her simple clothes. She still walked through the mansion with the same calm attitude. She still cared about the people around her more than her. O recognition. To her, nothing had changed. But for Adrian, everything had started changing. The man who once believed power was the strongest force in the world was beginning to understand something new. A person's character could leave a deeper mark than their status. And the woman who entered his life wearing bunny slippers had become the one person he could not stop thinking about. Not because she wanted his attention, but because she never needed it. The relationship between Adrian Hayes and Maya Thompson continued to change in ways neither of them expected. The mansion that once felt like a place built around power and distance slowly became a place where small moments of humanity began to appear. The employees noticed it first. Adrian was still the same man who commanded respect wherever he went, but the cold silence that usually followed him was beginning to disappear. He started asking questions instead of simply giving instructions. He started listening instead of assuming he already had all the answers. And everyone knew there was one person who had influenced that change. Maya never realized how much impact she had created. She was simply living the way she always had. She greeted everyone warmly. She offered help when someone needed it. She treated every person in the mansion with the same level of respect, whether they had authority or not. Adrian watched these moments quietly, and each one revealed something new about her character. One afternoon, Adrian found Maya sitting in a small garden area behind the mansion during her break. The peaceful setting was different from the serious environment he was used to. He asked her about her dreams and what she wanted for her future. Maya smiled and explained that she did not need a luxurious life to feel successful. She wanted stability. She wanted to help people. She wanted to know that her presence made Simeone's day a little better. Adrian listened carefully because her answer was completely different from what he expected. Most people around him talked about achievements, money, or recognition. Maya talked about purpose. Her words reminded him of something he had forgotten. Before becoming known as a powerful man, he had once wanted his life to have meaning beyond success. Over the years, that simple desire had been buried beneath responsibility and expectations. Maya brought that memory back. Later that week, Adrian noticed a situation where one of the household workers was struggling with a personal problem. In the past, he might have ignored it because he believed everyone was responsible for handling their own difficulties. But this time, he remembered Maya's perspective. He took the time to listen. It was a small action, but it represented a major change. Maya noticed the difference but did not comment on it. She understood the real change happened quietly. Adrian began realizing that his interest in Maya was not because she was unusual in appearance or because she challenged him once. It was because she represented something rare in his world. She was genuine. She did not change her personality depending on who was watching. She did not become more impressive when speaking to powerful people. She remained exactly the same person in every situation. That honesty was what made her impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, rumors began spreading among the people around Adrian. They wondered why the most powerful man in the city seemed interested in the opinions of a simple housekeeper. Some people could not understand it because they measured value through status. They did not see what Adrian saw. They did not understand that Maya's greatest strength was never her position. It was her character. One evening, Adrian stood near the mansion entrance and watched Maya leave after finishing her work. The familiar bunny slippers appeared beneath her simple outfit, reminding him of the first moment she walked into his office without fear. He realized that the person who challenged his perspective had never tried to gain influence over him. She had simply shown him a better way to use the influence he already had. And for Adrian Hayes, that realization changed everything. The changes inside the Hayes mansion became impossible for people to ignore. What started as a simple conversation between a powerful man and a humble housekeeper had slowly become something much deeper. Adrian Hayes was still respected throughout the city. His name still carried influence. His decisions still mattered. But the people closest to him began noticing that the man behind the reputation was becoming different. He was no longer someone who only focused on results. He had started paying attention to the people who helped create those results. Maya Thompson never expected any of this. She had never tried to change Adrian. She had never wanted recognition for speaking honestly. She believed that every person, regardless of their position, deserved to be treated with dignity. That belief was so natural to her that she never realized how rare it had become in Adrian's world. One afternoon, Adrian invited Maya to join him for a conversation outside the mansion. The atmosphere was calm, with the sound of the city in the distance and the sunlight spreading across the garden. For once, Adrian was not speaking as a powerful figure. He was simply a person trying to understand something. He asked Maya why she remained kind even when people underestimated her. Maya looked thoughtful for a moment before answering. She explained that life had taught her something important. People could choose to become colder because of difficult experiences, or they could choose to become more understanding. She chose understanding because she knew what it felt like to be overlooked. Adrian listened quietly. Her words connected with parts of his past that he rarely thought about. He had spent years believing that trust was something dangerous and that emotions made people vulnerable. But Maya showed him another perspective. She showed him that caring about others did not make someone weak. It revealed their strength. Meanwhile, the people around Adrian began noticing that he treated Maya differently. It was not because she had special status. It was because he respected her opinion. When others spoke to Adrian, they often focused on what they wanted from him. When Maya spoke, she focused on what was right. That difference mattered. One evening, a staff member thanked Maya for helping create a more peaceful environment in the mansion. Maya simply smiled and said that everyone contributed to the atmosphere around them. She refused to take credit alone. Adrian overheard those words and realized another important truth about her. Maya was not searching for admiration. She was not trying to become important. Her humility was genuine. The woman who entered his world wearing bunny slippers had something that many powerful people spent their lives trying to find. She had inner peace. As time passed, Adrian began questioning the way he had always measured success. He once believed that power meant having control over every situation. Now he understood that true influence came from how people felt when they were around you. Maya had never commanded anyone. She had never demanded respect. She earned it naturally through the way she treated others. That lesson changed Adrian more than any business achievement ever could. The city still knew him as a powerful Korean Mafia boss, but the people inside his home knew something different. They knew he was becoming a man who finally understood the value of compassion. And the person who helped him discover that was the one person who never asked for anything in return. The quiet transformation of Adrian Hayes continued, but not everyone understood it inside the Hayes mansion. Many people noticed the difference, yet outside those walls, the world still saw the same powerful figure they had always known. Adrian remained a man with influence, wealth, and a reputation that made people careful with their words. But those closest to him saw something changing beneath that image. He was becoming someone who listened. Someone who considered the feelings of others. Someone who no longer believed that showing compassion meant losing control. Maya Thompson noticed these changes but never took credit for them. She continued her daily routine exactly as before. She arrived on time, completed her responsibilities, and treated everyone around her with patience. She did not act differently because Adrian respected her. She did not expect special treatment because he valued her opinion. That was one of the things Adrian admired most about her. Maya never wanted to stand above anyone. She only wanted people to stand beside each other with mutual respect. One afternoon, Adrian made an unexpected decision. He wanted to improve the working environment for everyone in the mansion and asked Maya for her thoughts. The request surprised the staff because Adrian was known for making decisions independently. He rarely asked for advice, especially from someone who held no official position. Maya carefully considered his question before answering. She explained that people worked better when they felt appreciated, trusted, and seen. She did not suggest expensive changes or complicated solutions. She focused on simple things, listening, showing gratitude, and recognizing effort. Adrian realized that these ideas were exactly what had been missing. For years, he had believed that leadership meant giving orders and expecting results. Maya showed him that leadership also meant understanding the people who followed those decisions. The change was subtle, but it affected everyone. The atmosphere in the mansion became warmer. Employees felt more comfortable expressing concerns. Small conversations replaced uncomfortable silence. People began seeing Adrian not only as someone powerful, but as someone who cared. However, Maya remained careful. She understood that change required time. She never expected Adrian to become a completely different person overnight. She believed people revealed their true character through consistent actions, not temporary promises. Adrian respected that honesty. He knew Maya was not impressed by his status. She was not interested in being close to power. She valued character above everything else. One evening, Adrian found Maya preparing to leave after another long day. He noticed the familiar bunny slippers that had become a reminder of the first moment she challenged him. He smiled slightly, remembering how unusual that day had been. Everyone else had seen a simple pair of slippers. Adrian saw something different. He saw confidence. He saw authenticity. He saw someone who had no reason to pretend. For the first time in many years, Adrian did not feel the need to prove anything. Around Maya, he could simply be himself. But what Adrian did not realize was that the biggest challenge was still ahead. Because changing his own perspective was one thing. Choosing to protect that change in a world built around reputation and expectations would require something much greater. The days passed quietly, but the changes inside Adrian Hayes became more visible with every decision he made. The people around him began noticing that the man they once viewed as distant and impossible to understand was becoming someone different. He still carried the confidence of a powerful Korean Mafia boss, but the way he treated others no longer came from authority alone. It came from awareness. Adrian had spent most of his life believing that control was the safest path. If he controlled every detail, he could avoid disappointment. If he kept people at a distance, he could avoid being hurt. But Maya Thompson had shown him something he never expected. A person could be strong without building walls around themselves. She had never demanded his attention. She had never tried to impress him. She had simply shown up every day as the same honest and compassionate woman he first met. That consistency stayed with him. One morning, Adrian noticed a problem that would have once been ignored. A member of the household staff had been struggling quietly because of personal circumstances. In the past, Adrian might have viewed it as something unrelated to his responsibilities. But this time, he remembered Maya's words. People were not just roles. They were individuals with their own challenges and stories. Adrian offered support in a respectful way, without making the person feel uncomfortable or powerless. It was a small decision, but it represented the biggest change he had made in years. Maya noticed the difference. She did not praise him or make the moment about herself. Instead, she simply smiled because she understood that real growth did not need applause. Later that afternoon, Adrian and Maya spoke in the garden behind the mansion. The sunlight was soft, and the noise of the city felt far away. Adrian admitted that he had spent many years measuring people by loyalty, success, and usefulness. Maya listened quietly as he explained that he was beginning to question those beliefs. She told him that people were not valuable because of what they could provide. They were valuable because they were human. Those words remained with Adrian long after their conversation ended. He realized that Maya had never entered his life to change his position or challenge his authority. She had entered his life to remind him of something he had forgotten. Compassion was not a weakness. Humility was not a loss of power. True respect was something earned through actions. However, not everyone around Adrian understood the transformation. Some people questioned why he valued the opinion of someone who held no title or influence. They believed status determined importance. Adrian now saw things differently. He understood that a person's character could matter more than their position. One evening, he watched Maya prepare to leave the mansion after finishing her work. The familiar bunny slippers appeared beneath her simple outfit, just like the first day she walked into his office. But Adrian no longer saw them as something unusual. He saw them as a reminder of the person who had been brave enough to be herself. The woman who never tried to gain power had changed the way he understood it, and as Adrian looked toward the quiet hallway after Maya left, he realized that the greatest lesson he had learned was not about becoming a better leader. It was about becoming a better person. Months later, the Hayes mansion no longer felt like the same place where silence once filled every room. The walls, the halls, and the people inside had all witnessed a quiet transformation that no one could have predicted. Adrian Hayes was still known as a powerful Korean Mafia boss, a man whose name carried influence throughout the city. But those who truly knew him understood that something important had changed. The greatest difference was not in what he owned or what others thought of him. It was in the way he saw the world. Adrian had once believed that strength came from control. He believed success meant never showing uncertainty and never allowing anyone to see beyond his carefully built image. But Maya Thompson had shown him another kind of strength. She showed him that a person could be powerful without making others feel small. She showed him that respect was not something demanded. It was something earned. Maya continued living her life with the same humility that had defined her from the beginning. She still worked hard. She still cared about the people around her. She still walked through the mansion with the same calm confidence, including the familiar bunny slippers that had become a reminder of the day everything began to change. She never became someone different because Adrian noticed her. That was exactly why he respected her even more. One evening, Adrian invited Maya to the garden where they had shared many honest conversations. The city lights reflected in the distance as they stood in the peaceful space behind the mansion. Adrian thanked her, not for changing his life, but for reminding him of something he had forgotten. He told her that before meeting her, he thought being respected meant being feared and being successful meant standing above others. Maya listened quietly. She did not take pride in his words because she never believed she had done anything extraordinary. She simply believed people deserved kindness. Adrian smiled because that was exactly what made her different. She never tried to become important. She already understood her own value. Over time, the people around Adrian began to see the result of that lesson. The mansion became a place where people felt appreciated. Employees felt heard. Small acts of kindness became normal instead of unusual. Adrian's leadership changed because his perspective changed. He still made difficult decisions. He still carried responsibility. But now he understood that every decision affected real people with real feelings. Maya never needed wealth or status to prove her worth. Her character had always been enough. Adrian never needed someone to make him more powerful. He needed someone to remind him what power was truly for. Their lives had started from completely different worlds. One carried influence and authority. The other carried compassion and quiet courage. Yet somehow, those differences became the reason they understood each other. The woman who once walked into his world wearing simple clothes and bunny slippers had shown the most powerful man in the city that true greatness was not measured by how many people followed you. It was measured by how many people felt valued because of you. And from that day forward, Adrian Hayes never forgot the lesson that changed everything. The strongest person in the room is not always the one with the most power, but the one who never loses their kindness.